Hi, my name's Alan Edwards and I'm the project lead for Estranged. And in this development blog video I'm going to show you a jumping up mechanic. So I'm going to start in the source engine. So this is Estranged Act 1 in the source engine. And you can see that when you jump up, you don't actually jump that high. However, when you go into an object that the game wants you to be able to jump on, you're kind of put on top of it. So I call that jump up. I'm not sure what the terminology is in the source engine, but it happens with all the kind of low objects that you can't really jump on. If you jump up, it looks like you wouldn't be able to make it. So if I jump here, if you imagine feet, your feet are nowhere near the top of this. So it's kind of scrambling up the object. Now, Unreal Engine 4 doesn't have this out of the box. So I've had a go at kind of implementing an initial version of this. So if you can see, this is our the 6th level mechanic where you have to stack a box and jump on it. So I'm going to do a quick demo here, then I'll go into the code behind it, which is actually quite simple. So the first pass at this is just teleporting you to where you would jump to. So if I jump here and go forwards, you can see that I'm kind of put on top of the table. The box there, the same thing, the vending machines, and then the ledge. So that means that the jump, and I might reduce the velocity of this jump even more. The jump can remain quite realistic, however you can jump up onto certain objects. So this is just kind of a nice to have in the game, and it just kind of improves the general gameplay experience. So let's jump into the code here. Now in Estranged, there's a Estranged character movement component that just inherits the Unreal character movement component. And there are lots of overrides in here that I don't want to go into, but there are two methods that we're kind of interested in, and that's do jump and fizz falling. So if we go over to the implementation, do jump, we're just setting, we're doing a footstep, which is an implementation specific thing for Estranged. But we're saying that we can jump up. So that's saying to the jump up mechanic, you can operate now, the player has initiated a jump. So if we go over to the fizz falling implementation, which is where this happens, there's some early exiting here. So if we can't jump up, if the player hasn't jumped, then bail out, call the super implementation of this. If the player is not trying to move forward. So if we go back to source, you can see that if you just go to a ledge and then just jump lightly, you're not put on top of it. However, if you push forwards, you are. So that's the kind of implementation of that. So only if you're trying to go forwards. So I can demo that here. So you're not actually doing anything until you press forwards, which is when it kicks in. So otherwise, early out. Also, this means that if the velocity.z is less than or equal to 0, just call the base implementation. This is to make sure that we're only traveling up. So this will make the logic only operate if we're going up like that. If we're falling down, so the second half of the jump, or if we get onto a ledge and then jump off it, the logic won't kick in. So let's go into the sweep logic here to make sure that we can get up onto something. So this boilerplate here is actually kind of taken from the base class. So there's a lot of sweeping going on in the base class. So if you need to do any sweeping in your own character movement component, there are helper methods. So for instance, get pawn capsule collision shape. That's something to inform the trace here. There's the collision channel. So all of this is kind of lifted to set up our trace. Now the interesting bit is where we start and end the trace. So we start the trace with the component location, we add a bit to the z-axis, and then we project a bit forwards along the forward vector, actually the radius of the capsule. Now because the capsule is a capsule shape, if you don't do that and you just try and step up onto something completely vertically, you'll just fall off again because the capsule will just slip off. So we're adding the radius of the capsule to the forward vector just to make sure that we step up onto it enough that we don't fall off again. And then the M vector is just the location of the player capsule added on a minimum jump step height. So anything below that we don't jump. And I'll just show you those values here. The minimum jump step height is 10 units, the maximum is 60. So 60 is the maximum height we can jump. Okay, so then we just perform the actual sweep, and the result goes into fHit result here. And then we just use the base implementation from the character movement component is walkable, check the hit result using that. If it's not walkable, then exit out. So for example, this window here, it would early out here because obviously this is a vertical surface and you cannot walk on it. So we'll go back to the implementation. Drawing a debug capsule, that's that blue debug capsule that you see in game. I'm going to remove that, but that's just for visualization purposes. If we go back here, so the final location, we add a little bit onto the z-axis for the final location. And that's because when we have things like physics objects, like this box, it can interrupt the physics simulation of it if you just plonk the character on top of it with no buffer. So you can see you kind of get teleported and you fall a little bit. So that's just to make it so any physics objects that you're going to stand on don't kind of bug out. The next check is to check whether we're encroached or not. And this is the exact same check that the character movement component does when you try and get up from being crouched. So if I get up, it's doing this encroachment check. So going back to the implementation, it's checking that the final location, using the exact same parameters as the other sweep for the shape, if there's actually anything there. If there is, then we just early out and call the base implementation. So then we can actually do the move. We've done all of the safety checks. Say can jump up is false, means that we've already done it and we shouldn't do it again in this session until we jump again. Move the updated component and then print that we've done so. So that's the implementation of it. It's quite simple. So future work is to make it so it's not like a teleport, because it feels a little bit like a teleport at the minute. You can see it's not very smooth. In Source, it's a little bit smoother because you kind of transition from down to up. But that's future work. I won't tackle that just yet. I think that's it for that development blog video. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments, and I'm always available at alan@alanedwards.com. Thank you very much for watching.